What if I told you that one of the most psychologically sophisticated personal growth framework ever created is not a book by a psychologist, not a course, not a therapeutic modality. It's a space opera from 1977. Star Wars on the surface is a story about good and evil, rebels versus empire, and the light versus dark. But underneath that surface, in the structure of the story, the mythology, the specific psychology of its characters, is one of the most honest maps of the human mind I have ever encountered. The hero's journey, the shadow, the light and dark side, not as a moral categories, but as psychological states. The mentor who can only take you so far, and the darkness you must face alone. I watched Star Wars looking for this, and here's what I found. I want to be honest, what drew me to this? I'm not a Star Wars fan in a traditional sense. I didn't grow up collecting toys or memorizing the lore. What drew me to it was Joseph Campbell. Campbell, the mythologist, whose work on the hero's journey George Lucas explicitly used when was writing Star Wars, spent his life arguing that great myths of humanity are all telling the same story. The story of a person who leaves the known world, faces the darkness, undergoes transformation, and returns changed with something to offer. When I started to understand my own life through that framework, the addiction as a descent, the recovery as the ordeal, a rebuilding as the return, Star Wars started looking completely different. Not a children's movie, a map. The hero's journey has 12 stages, but the core structure is simple. Known world, call to adventure, crossing the threshold, road of trials, the abyss, transformation and return. Every significant moment of personal growth follows that arc. Whatever you choose it or not, the call to adventure is rarely welcome. It comes as crisis, loss, or a failure, or a growing discomfort of a life that no longer fits. The crossing of the threshold is commitment. The moment you stop pretending, you can go back to who you were before. The road of trials is the work, the long middle period where the transformation is happening, but the evidence hasn't arrived yet. The abyss is the moment when everything falls apart, the darkest point, the death of the old self, before the new one can emerge. And the return, which Luke accomplishes when he throws away his lightsaber and refuses to fight, is not a triumph. It's integration. Coming back to a world you left as someone who has been somewhere most people haven't been.
Yeah.
I've been through this arc more than once. The addiction was a death, the recovery was an abyss, and the return. This channel is currently the road of trials. You are in this arc right now. The question is only which stage. The Force in the Star Wars is not a magic. George Lucas, through Campbell, was describing something real. The Force is the state of alignment between what you are and what you do. The Jedi don't control the Force. They attune to it. They surrender to it. They act from a place of stillness rather than from a place of control. Compare that to the Sith, who try to dominate the Force, who use it as a tool for their own will, who try to control outcomes through Force rather than to surrender what is. This is not a mythology, it's a psychology. Flow state, the psychological state of a complete absorption in an activity, is the Force made real. It doesn't arrive through force or will, it arrives through a specific alignment of a capability, challenge and genuine presence. The Jedi don't try harder, they become more present. That's the lesson, and it's a real one. This is where Star Wars gets genuinely profound. The dark side is not an evil in the moral sense. In psychological sense, the dark side is the shadow. Jung's shadow, the part of yourself you can't integrate, you push into the unconscious, and which then operate from there, outside your awareness, with full force, in ways you cannot control. Vader is not a villain who chooses evil. Vader is someone who was unable to integrate his fear of flaws, his terror of losing Padme, and that unintegrated fear was weaponized. The dark side didn't take him. His unintegrated shadow did. Luke Trials is the Empire Strikes Back. The cave on Dagobah specifically. The shadow walk in its most honest visual form. He goes into the darkness expecting an enemy. He finds his face in a Vader's mask. The lesson Yoda is teaching is not to defeat your enemy. The lesson is know your shadow. Because the thing you hadn't integrated in yourself will be used against you in every conversation or in every situation that knows how to find it. I felt this. The things I hadn't faced in myself showed up reliably in the relationship, in the patterns I couldn't explain. In a way, certain situations triggered responses that had nothing to do with the situation. The shadow doesn't wait, it shows up in disguise, through others, through a specific dynamic you keep recreating, until you go to the cave and look at it directly. Yoda is the most interesting character in Star Wars for one specific reason. He cannot complete Luke's journey for him. He teaches, he guides, he points. But when Luke asks to come with him, Yoda refuses. Not because he doesn't care, because the mentor's job is to prepare you for the part of the journey that only you can take. Therapy works like this. Mentors works like this. This channel works like this. Hopefully, I can share what I've understood. I cannot integrate it for you. The cave is yours, the abyss is yours. The return is yours. The mentor exists as the threshold to give you what you need to cross it. What happens on the other side is completely, necessarily yours. I still watch Star Wars differently now. Not as entertainment, though it's that, as a reminder of a structure. When something in my life feels like a chaos, I ask, what part of the journey am I in? Am I on the road of trials when nothing has arrived yet, but the work is happening? Am I in the abyss where everything has fallen apart and something new is about to emerge? The map doesn't make this easier, but it makes it less disorienting. The story was never about Luke, it was always about you. The call you keep getting and sometimes ignoring. The threshold you keep standing at. The cave you hadn't entered yet. The Force isn't magic. It's what becomes available when you stop trying to control everything and start showing up fully for exactly what's in front of you. May the Force be with you. I had to. Tell me in comments which character you are related to the most. Press like and subscribe. We will go deeper. So let's rise together. Have a good flight, fam.